Hello and welcome to the Stickmen pod. I'm back in Finland with my good friend Rene. Rene, good to have you back, mate.
Good to be
Good
here.
to
Nice that you survived
exactly.
the trip.
Yeah, just about. So as you might have remembered from one of the previous episodes, I just got back from Vegas with my friend's bachelor party. I got back yesterday quite late, and yeah, I went to the UK before that and things like that. So it was one of those where I've been to Vegas 4 times, like lifetime. The first time doesn't really count because I was 16. It was like a school trip kind of thing.
School trip to Las Vegas.
Yeah, it was actually it was a tour of like the West Coast of America. I was 16. I remember we landed in San Francisco, and we basically over something like 10 or 11 days, we traveled up the West Coast, going through like Utah and a few places like that. We saw the Grand Canyon as well. That's why I went to Vegas. We went to Nevada and we saw the Grand Canyon. Really cool trip, but we didn't get the most out of Vegas kind of thing.
The only field trip I remember from my high school, we went to a bread factory.
Bread factory, well, yeah, mine was that was maybe a bit more enjoyable than that.
We got free bread though.
Well, true,
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Bread factory. Yeah, so but on that note, I'm gonna crack a quick can and happy Friday. Cheers to that. But yeah, it's good to be back. Like
I was about to say rough week, but not true because Thursday was a day off here in Finland. Yeah, so it was not very a rough week.
So Amelia had Thursday. What was that about? Why did everyone get it off?
Yeah.
What was the purpose of that?
Hela Torsdag is like a Ascension Day.
Oh, it's the Ascension Day, right?
I don't know what it is, but I'll take it.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I flew back Thursday, so like from England. So we went to just a quick actually before we get into anything. I can notice I've got on a new microphone, which is kind of covering my face a little bit, but that's them's the breaks. So yeah, hopefully we have a little bit of issues in the previous recordings with when Rene speaks, my microphone picking it up and having a bit of an echo. Hopefully this will solve that. There will be a case where I'll need to maybe adjust some settings to make it sound a little less raw, but for now we did a bit of a test and it seems okay, so should be fine. On that sort of boring note as well, we should mention, if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, the Stickmen Pod. That's our socials as well. And yeah, please like the video if you do, and subscribe. Hit the bell, is it, for the notifications if you want to know when we make another video. So yeah, I flew back to England the previous Sunday. So I was basically out of the country for about 10 days. And then we flew to Vegas, and so it's my best mate Gav. Those of you, he'll probably come on the channel at some point in the next few weeks to do a little discussion talk about Vegas, talk about his wedding, all that kind of stuff. But we flew out and we dressed him up as Julius Caesar, and
I saw that.
there was like 16 of us, and we went as like Roman sort of soldiers sort of thing, which was good fun. And we flew with Virgin Atlantic, and they're normally a really good airline, and they're pretty good. But this flight was just kind of, it was good and bad in some ways. Like, for example, we talked a few weeks back about what we were talking about traveling to Helsinki on the train and how, it's basically a pain in the ass. And I hate flying generally. I just find it, generally it's uncomfortable. I'm tall dude and, big dude. It's like fitting in the chairs.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro, don't get me started.
Yeah. So
you should get a second. Are you starting to fight for a second seat?
Yeah, exactly. We remember. You watched that video on TikTok where the guy was like, "Oh, the fat people should get an extra seat." I thought, I kind of see where he's coming from now, but no. It was one of these where we got really lucky because we got assigned our seats at the gate, which was really, really weird. And like when we got to the gate, we get onto the plane and we got like the front row of economy. So basically, the next room is like the business class. So we had like massive leg room just by chance, like really nice. So that was really cool.
I saw a picture Gav uploaded.
With
some random girl that was in between everyone. It's like she's like smiling, joining the picture. So like, and the caption was like, she doesn't know what's expecting her for the next 13 hours.
Yeah, she was good fun. So she was a lovely Las Vegas local. I think her name was Tara, and she just gone to first time in London. She'd gone to with her sister to celebrate her 40th birthday, and she had a great time. She was a really good character, really good, really nice person, good fun. And but we flew out, and this plane was like 300 plus. Like there wasn't one spare seat on the whole flight, so it was fucking crazy. And apparently there was 11 stag or hen parties on that flight.
11.
11, yeah. So basically, it was one of those things where when the drinks cart came around, you're like, oh, can I get 2 gin and tonics or whatever? They'd only give you one. It's all inclusive, but they were like really rationing you. Said we can't give you more than one because other people might not get them. So in like the 11 or 10 and a half hour flight, I think I got 4 drinks. So you basically land sober. Everyone was sort of in a bit of a miserable mood, you know, kind of like, but yeah, it was good. It was a good fun trip. But it sort of, I'll go into some of the sort of stories or details of the stag, but I thought I'm going to save the majority of that for to chat with Gav sort of thing, because, you know,
100%.
his sort of thing. But it did make me sort of, did remind me of like when we did a video a few weeks back or a month back about Finnish culture shocks. And it really reminded me of the differences in cultures between the UK, Finland, and America, and I'm sure Mexico.
Now you get, because I remember last time I went to Mexico was a bit different because I went with Petra, was showing her around stuff. But in one of the times I've been there, after maybe 3-4 years I was living here, those culture shocks people talk when they come to Finland. Now you get them when you go to Mexico.
Yeah.
But you are like, oh, I've forgotten how things work here, mate. Or I haven't really realized it was so things that were normal for me. Now that you go back after living here, you are like, this is too much.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's one of these things where I've also lived in America. I lived in LA for 7 months. I was playing like live poker out there, and like I say, I've been to Vegas like 4 times. And it's one of this last trip to Vegas. I don't know what it was about it, where things have changed quite a lot, like quite aggressively in the sense of the main thing was the tipping culture. Like the US has a big tipping culture, which isn't the same in Finland at
But
all.
now it has, because we have that in Mexico, but I think in the US it's like getting out of hand, isn't it?
Yeah, really much. Like it's pretty traditional that you hop in a cab or whatever, you get to your destination, and let's say the thing comes to like $30, you would tip like 33, 34, maybe 35. So sort of about 10 to 15% tip is pretty standard. But this was like, I remember you just sort of got the impression wherever you were that the person was expecting like a tip everywhere. So for example, you check into your hotel, which we queued up, we hand over our ticket or our details, whatever, and they give us 2 room keys, room 8056, whatever. Thank you very much. Cool. And you could tell they sort of hover, like expecting you to just give them like $20. And you're like, you want us to tip you $20 for just giving us our room key? And then the guy who opened the door for you would want a tip, and then it would be like the bartenders want tips, and I think that's fun. I'm a big believer in tipping your servers, but we would go. There was 16 of us, right? And we'd do a thing called a whip. I don't know if you have that in Mexico, but I don't think it's a thing in Finland, so I'll just briefly explain as well. A whip is like when you have a group of friends going to an event, and there's generally like quite a busy bar. What you all do is you'll put in, say, €100, $100, £100, whatever it might be.
You just order for everyone.
You throw it all in. So say there's 10 of you, you put 100, so there's 1,000. That's in the whip. And I'll go to the bar and I'll get 10 beers. And I'll order that, pay out of the whip, come back. And then, because it was a long queue, I'll go, Rene, you take the whip and you go to the bar next time and you pay. And it just
we do that sometimes, yeah. Not they put in the money, but like
you do rounds,
kind of
yeah.
You just one go, so we don't all waste an hour in the fucking line.
Yeah, and the reason for doing it, because we do rounds in the UK, but the reason when you got a bigger group, the reason why you do like a whip instead of rounds,
because there's always one guy.
Exactly right. It's like you're gonna be drinking. You're gonna forget. Oh, it was Rene's turn last time, so it means it's your turn. You're like, no, I did last time before, and it's way easier to just.
There's always that guy that's like, everyone's drunk. Oh, but it was mine last time, right?
Or they head off early. Exactly. So it keeps everyone accountable. Everyone puts £100 in or $100 at the middle.
You know who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like that's the sort of thing to do. But we did that. So I was as you know, I was the best man. I'm organising the trip. I was in charge of the money. So I go to the bar and I order. Can I get 5 beers? Can I get 4 gin and tonics? Can I get 2 rum and cokes? Can I get whatever it might be, right? And you do that, and the bill would come to like $200.
If I'm the one behind you, I hate you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, this guy.
I just want 1 beer. Yeah.
Exactly.
But luckily, the first bar we were in with the only people in, it was the lobby bar. There was no queue, so we did that. We got that. But it comes to $200. And by the time I've literally like got you your beer, Rene, there's your beer. Here's your rum and coke. Here's that. By the time we got round, you'd have finished your beer. So it's kind of like it was like a bit of a process. Either way, it's like so the round comes to like 200, and you got to tip the bartender, right? So it would be like, okay, well, I'll give him 10%. So let's say it came to like 180. I was just giving 200, like keep the change sort of thing. So they're getting like just over 10% tip. And it was one of those things where, but then I was straight away ordering another round. And it was like the same thing. So here's another $20 tip. And we did like 3 rounds back to back where the guy got like $60 for pouring, like 40 drinks or so. And a lot of those drinks were just crack the lid off of a beer and hand it over, right? So it wasn't a lot of work. And I just sort of thought like that even I started to feel like this guy's getting tipped for like nothing here, right? As in it's basically a case of we're the only customers in this very small bar and he's just made $60 in about 30 minutes of pouring drinks. And it's just...
And they expect it, right?
Yeah,
they
yeah.
get kind of like 10%, only 10%, man.
Yeah.
Because in Mexico, it happened now that you told us. That you told this, we went to Veracruz. It's like a beach, kind of port city. We're in the beach is not the nicest, but we went to the really nice hotel. Where you're in the pool, and but we went first to the now I remember we went first to the buffet, like the breakfast buffet. And when we arrived, they told us, "Oh, you are on this room. We're kind of on the upper floors." And I paid online, so I didn't really know what I guess. I paid the hotel kind of thing. And I completely, like a month before or something, completely forgot what I ordered. I arrived, and the woman is like on the counter is like, "Oh, like here's your key. We have the breakfast buffet, it's included. We have the evening snack buffet, and it's included. And like here's your key, and this is like the whole blah blah blah." Okay, we go, and we go down for breakfast. And the breakfast in Mexico is massive, right? It's a massive buffet, like crazy big tables. And you have like the usual you have here, plus all the like gorditas, this kind of like snacks. And then you have like, barbacoa and this like proper, like kind of like what you have here for lunch. Like proper meal food. It was a massive buffet, really nice. And there was no waiters. Like on the first one, there was no waiters. On the second day, there was, and we tipped the guy quite nice because he was a really nice dude. But the first one, there wasn't. And basically, we ordered everything. Like, well, we went, got everything, got some coffee, got some whatever, finished eating. We walked to the exit of the place, and there's the cashier. And they're like, "Oh, what's the
room number?"
Oh, no, we were gonna go, and it's like, "Oh, actually, what's your room number?" This. Oh yeah, it's like 400 pesos. I don't know. It's nothing, right? It's like what's that?
$1.
20 euros maybe.
Okay.
Or both for a massive breakfast, right? Like, yeah. I was like, "Oh, but it's included." Like, no, it's not. I was like, "Well, I'm sorry, but like when we checked in, they told us it was included." You're like, "Well, but it's not." And with the attitude, I'm like, "Well, then what's next?" Kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I was told it was. I was like, "Oh, let's go to reception." I go there, and the guy was being a con, kind of laughing. I was like, "Dude, it's not the money. It's the fact that you told me, like, yeah, but it's not." And kind of laughing and kind of like making.
Yeah.
I was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I was even more pissed, right? Because the guy's like, they're taking the piss. It's like, well, I guess I'll pay. Like, bring me a terminal. I was like, they show it as like I pay. Like, anything else? Are you gonna tip?
Oh god,
like,
yeah.
Am I gonna tip? Like, after you're being a con, you're laughing at the fact that I thought it was included because they were like, "Oh, but we bumped you up, so you shouldn't have that room for what you paid."
I see, right.
I was like,
which isn't the point.
I was like, completely fine if you tell me that when I got here, but
yeah, we'll bump you up, but you don't get the complimentary
breakfast. And if you tell me it's not included, I would still have gone there and paid. But
it's the attitude about it.
It's the attitude of that, right? And if you are like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man, like it's not included. This is what happened." Perfectly fine. But your attitude is what bothered me. And then she was pissed that we didn't tip her. I was like, "But you did nothing. It was a buffet. You didn't even bring us the check, and then you made a mess.
Yeah,
you're being a dick about it, and you expect a tip."
Well, here's the thing about this is one of the crazy things about British culture, right? Is like, as a British person, I've been in many of those situations where, like, I'm a pretty confrontational person, as you've seen. Like, I have no issue like arguing with people when I think I'm right or whatever. But there's something about our culture where I can go and sit through like the worst meal I've ever had at a restaurant with really shit service, not complain, and then tip. Like it's just a thing. It's like amount of times I sit down for a dinner in a restaurant, you wait 35 minutes for the person to come and even ask you if you'd like a drink. Then you wait another 25, 30 minutes to. I've had times where I've gone with my ex-girlfriend when we lived in England, right? We've go to the cinema and we've gone 2 hours before our movie. We go to a not even an expensive restaurant, just like a kind of middle of the road restaurant, and we sit down and we order drinks, and we say we're ready to order food at the same time. So the waitress takes our order and goes off, and then An hour later, no food, and we ask, hey, what's going on with the food, sort of thing. Yeah, it's coming. The kitchen's very busy. Cool. And then it gets to a point where it's like 15 minutes to our movie starts, and we haven't had the food. And I've had to sort of be like, look, can you basically just cancel our food, and I need to just pay for the drinks and leave. And she's like, oh, well, you can't. I was like, well, I have to because you waited so long. Sort of argue back and forth from it. Eventually, they agree that they will cancel the food. I'll pay for the drinks, and then I'll tip for the drinks, which 2 Cokes. Because it's just one of those things. And
I've been in a situation where I remember this was with an ex and like a couple friends of her, and like a real guy, right? That was like, he's now husband of her cousin. I like the guy a lot, but he's one of those that he'll just fight you for nothing, basically. And we went to get some tacos, and it was like a big table. It was like 8 of us, and then we all got this. Like, it's very common in like those kind of places that you have water with flavors. It's like 1 liter, kind of like rice or lime or whatever. And we ordered those and sodas and stuff, and we waited for like hour and a half. And every time we would ask, "Oh, it's coming, it's coming." And at some point we get pissed. I was like, "Hey, dude, we've been here for hour and a half. Like, are the things coming or not?" And then one guy was this kind of laugh, like, "Oh yeah, sorry, but like, in Volkswagen the factory, they ordered a massive like thing, and we're waiting for like we're finishing that, and then we'll give you your stuff." So after hour and a half, we're like, "Okay, fuck it." We stood up, leave. It was like quite a big, just from the drinks. The guy was like, "Yeah, but you have to pay for the drinks." Like, "Oh, they can pay it for you in Volkswagen, mate. Fuck off." Like, hour and a half. If you would have told us that when we came in, we either wait the time or we leave, right?
Yeah, that's the point.
The fact that you're being a cut and your smile is the point where you're like, fuck off, bro.
That's the thing. If they'd said to us, like the times it's happened to me, if they say to you when you walk in, like, "Hey, yeah, sure, but it's gonna be like the food's gonna be a 45-minute wait," then you've got the choice of going, "Okay, I won't make that. We'll go, or whatever." But yeah, so the point is really, it's a very British thing where, regardless of how bad the food is, I'll never send it back, and I'll always pay a tip.
I never complain about the food. It's weird, like, cause, well, I cook, right, and I'm very critical sometimes, but I will just like, it is what it is, man, because it won't change anything if I complain now. Unless it's really uneatable, right? Then you say something. But I used to be a waiter. I was a waiter for many years, so I usually try to tip a bit more. And if the service is good, I'll tip you like maybe 20% sometimes. It's like I have no problem with it.
Yeah, this is the point.
But if you're a really bad service, I won't tip you at all.
It's the point I'm sort of trying to get to eventually, which is that if the standard is absolutely terrible, if the food's bad, if the service is bad, I still pretty much will tip 10% in England. Is how it works.
If the food is very bad, but the service, the waiter has no. It's not his fault, right? So I will still tip.
Yeah. Like, so what I mean is like, that's a British culture, is at least for me and for a lot of people I know, is like, no matter how bad it is, it's a very British culture where you pay for the food. It's almost like one of those things. You go in, you have a terrible meal, you pay for it with a smile, you tip 10%, you leave, and you go. As you walk into the car, you go, "Oh, that was fucking horrible." Yeah. But so the point is that, right? And I think, as I said, when it comes to waiters and servers, like, I always tip because they're rushed off their feet, or like a chef, like whatever it might be. I feel there's no issue tipping in the service industry in that regard. I don't resent at all. Yeah. What I kind of resented in this point in Vegas was this guy was like stood behind the bar, empty bar, no one there, and there's like just happens to be 10 dudes saying, "Can we get 10 beers, please?" And he takes 10 beers out the fridge, goes click, 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 click. Charges $100 and makes $10 for it. That was to me. That I was like, this is just odd. Right?
I've seen that kind of thing. For example, where you order something from Foodora or something. Well, I'll pick it up. You walk in, get it, and they expect a tip.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
Not in Finland, of course. Here you don't tip.
Okay.
But in Mexico, I've heard the same in the US. They're like, "Do you want a tip?"
Yeah.
For what, mate?
And that is kind of what it comes down to. Is it's almost like we do have a tipping culture in the UK, but it's like the US tipping culture. The last time I've been there was probably about 7 or so years ago in LA, and yeah, like when, for example, if you're on the casino floor and the cocktail waitress comes around and gets you, a couple of vodka sodas or a Corona or whatever, comes back, I always tip. Basically, I used to tip. It used to be told you can give $1 or $2. But now I tip $5 because I was like, some of the drinks I'm drinking, like a gin and tonic or whatever, they're like $14 from the bar. They bring you one, I give them $5. It's like I'm getting a cheap drink and they're getting $5 for just walking to the bar and back. It's a kind of a win-win as far as I'm concerned. But when you literally go to oh, can I drop my, when we're checking out of the hotel, we're like, there's a place you can drop your bag to hold it while you go and do the rest of your day before you go to the airport. And I'll go there and we'll drop our bag. And the guy's really nice, but all he literally does is stand behind a counter, take your bag, put a ticket on it and put it into the closet. And it's like, he wants a $20 tip. And you're like, in what world am I paying you? I've paid, $800 for the hotel. I'm paying $20 just to keep my bag safe for 2 hours. Well, it's kind of...
It is insane, yeah.
And it was the same as we booked. It was just everywhere. It just felt like you're just hemorrhaging money in these tips. Where like we went to a magic show. We went to, I don't know if you heard of Shin Lim.
No.
This was like, he's this quite big magician who we hadn't really heard of him, but he won America's Got Talent like a few years back.
Maybe if I see him,
he's got like really like long, almost like emo hair, like Asian dude, very like, I don't know. He does a lot of card and sleight of hand tricks. He's really, really cool performer. It was really good to watch. But I booked the tickets for those, and I needed like 11 tickets, I think it was. Paid $720 for these tickets. They were like $65 a piece or whatever. And then, you just got the impression that the person who just literally printed off the tickets and handed me to them, when I counted out the cash and gave it to them, they were like almost expecting a tip. And you're just like, in what like, it's just madness, right? It's like, and I understand everyone always fights about this on Reddit or Twitter and says it's the reason is they get paid low say, but it's
100%.
like,
I get it because I've been in that situation.
Yeah.
Where, for example, I used to work as a waiter, and it's hard for me to keep converting this, like, but you could work in two ways. You work for a very small salary and you can ask tips. I used to work not in a restaurant but in this kind of like party place.
Okay.
You rent a place for weddings and like whatever kind of celebration, and you ask for waiters, and then you kind of either, like, in the worst case it was like when it's a wedding and you do the whole serving this very fancy kind of shit that I hated. It's really hard, man, and people don't appreciate that shit. Where you're balancing a, I don't know, 3-4 liters boiling pot of soup, and then people are like bumping. Dude, you don't see the fucking soup. Like, what are you doing? Like, people really don't appreciate.
Definitely, waiting tables is a grind for sure. And that's why I mean, like tipping a waiter or a waitress, like a server in a food place. I 100% tip your servers, like for sure. Yeah.
But you would get this, like, I remember I was 13 when I started. I don't know if that's legal, but I was 13. I look bigger, and I think you would get 100 pesos for a day. Like, our days in that, because you have to come a few hours before, set the whole tables and stuff for the event, set the table, set everything, all the decoration, whatever, or depending on the event. And then it was usually from 8 to 10 hours event. 8 hours sounds a lot. Probably 6 to 8. And of course, some of those they are like, I'll pay you 2 extra hours. And Like, but I think it's 6 to 8 hours. And then you would get the 3-4 hours to get everything back to how it was and clean the glasses and whatever, right? So it was like days of like 12, 13 hours. 13, mate. Like, it was a lot of work. But then from your 100 pesos, my best day for tips was like 1,200 or something like that. And that's, what's that, like
euros? Like
60 euros. But for when the minimum wage in Mexico is like, at that time it was like, let's say 120 euros per month.
Yeah.
For a kid, that was a lot of money, like, a lot of money. And I used to love it, but then you have other events where there's like, you are not allowed to order ask for tips, but then you get 250.
Right.
So it's like, I'm basically losing a lot of money here, because also I was 13 and I was the one asking for tips, of course, right? So you would go to it's always to the older lady kind of thing, like, can I get a tip? Do you want to leave a tip for the waiters? Of course they give you a big tip, because it's like the picking order here was like me for woman, it was me, then a woman, and then some guy. That's who asked for the tip.
Yeah.
And then for guys, it was like a girl, then me, and then some guy.
Yeah, the guy.
And that was the picking order. Like, the
guy was always bottom for sure.
It was always like either the girl or me who would ask for the tips.
That's the same thing in like Vegas, right? Like, you tip the dealers, and like I say, so I'm not against. Fundamentally, I'm not against tipping at all, right? I know, but it made me appreciate a little bit the differences of culture. For example, Finland is pretty much a no tipping culture, right?
Yeah,
like,
sellers are decent.
Yeah, and that's it, and that's the argument you get in the US is they're like, well, the people that are, the casino workers, they're on like less than minimum wage and they live off their tips. But it's like, I get that, And I think that, for example, with the dealers, when I would tip the dealers at all the games stuff, it's like one of those things where, to put it in like a mathematical sense, these games are horrendously bad for the player. Obviously, everyone knows the casinos are built off of the games, right?
So they're not built out of paying people, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, if you're playing blackjack on the strip, you're playing in probably the worst form of blackjack game you can. And without getting too boring, that not all blackjack games are equal. So most people think you're just trying to hit 21 and you win. And that is kind of what you're trying to do, but they pay different odds at different casinos, and they have different side bets, and they have different parameters of the game. For example, I played a game on the strip where, so if the dealer hit 22, which is obviously a bust, it's too many in blackjack, and the game was a push, which means it's a draw, and you get your money back, and the deal. Yeah. So if they hit 22 exactly, so they hit 23, it's a bust. But if they hit bust on 22, which just gives another huge edge to the casino.
100%.
And blackjack paid 6-5. So in traditional blackjack, it pays 3-2. What that means, so basically, if you just win a hand, like if I get 18 and the dealer busts, and I bet $10, they'll give me $10 back. But if I bet, say, $20 in the hand and I hit blackjack, they'll pay me $30. So you're getting you're getting 1.5 to 1, right? But 6-5 obviously is a worse fraction, so you're getting paid less for blackjack. So all of these things stacking towards the house's edge. But already a bad game, but you're not there, just to win.
If you happen to be on a really good roll, or you're very smart or whatever, then they fucking shower you with drinks in it.
Yeah,
like you won't win, like eventually.
Most of the casinos that we were playing at, like counting cards and having an edge on blackjack would be very, very difficult. Again, I don't want to get too like.
But also, they have a lot of decks in it.
Yeah, the more decks they have is actually somewhat better if you get what's called good deck penetration, which is basically how much of the deck they let you play through before they shuffle. No. But because that's how blackjack works, right? Is if you want to win at blackjack, when the high cards come out of the deck, there are more low cards, right? So being able to, that's how you get the count. If there are more low cards taken out of the deck, there are more high cards, and that would determine whether the count is high or low. Therefore, in your favor if it's high, and low if it's like a minus number in the house's favor. So you can bet more when the count is a plus number, and you can bet less. But the problem is, as you get to that count, and as the count increases, eventually it's like a ticking time bomb. The deck will be reshuffled, and then the count will go back to 0, right? So what casinos often do is they have like a 4-deck blackjack game, but has very low deck penetration. So where they put that little plastic cut card in, if the deck's like this big, and those of you that are listening, you won't be able to see, but like about the length of like your forearm, they'll put the card like here, so they won't play at this part of the deck. And basically, it just means that all the information you've got from the cards have been presented.
Yeah, they shuffle so often.
Yeah, you don't really get you don't get to play the edge, exactly. And that, on top of that, when the game is just like so badly structured, you just can't win, which is fine. You're not always in Vegas to win. You're there to have a good time and with your friends and whatever. So, but either way, it's one of those things where I would tip the dealers like just a couple of dollars here and there, because it's already a negative EV game. You're already losing tons of money in the long run, but they are still providing a service. It's a bit like, as I said, if I'm in a restaurant, even when the food's not so great, the server's not. It's not the server's fault. They did bring me my food. They did bring me my drinks. They did ask me if I needed anything. So they do deserve a tip. Yeah. Same thing with the blackjack. Whether you win 1,000 or lose 1,000, they did deal you the cards, and they did put up with the drunken idiot, shouting at them and all this sort of stuff. So I'm a believer in tipping in that case. Yeah. I just think when it's a case of, like I say, can I get 2 beers, please? And they crack 2 beers, and then it's like, that'll be $30, and you're paying $30 for 2 beers, and then they want a 10% tip on top. You're just bro.
Yeah, it's also like controversial, but I've discussed this with Petra a few times, because here you don't have tips, which is great, right, for everyone.
Yeah.
Like I think your employer should pay, right? You should get a good salary, that it doesn't matter how nice or how good-hearted or good-willed whatever your customers are.
Yep.
Like, it's your livelihood, kind of depending on that kind of thing.
No,
right?
hell no, yeah.
You should be like, you get a good salary, and then if you get tipped, it's like on top of.
And tips should be for exceptional service, right? Not the norm to be able to pay your wage, right?
100%. And that today I went home with a couple extra bucks kind of thing, because I did a good
worked
job.
My ass off, my customers appreciated 100%. It, and I made another $200. Yeah, for 100%. Sure. Yeah.
But controversially, here people get a good salary,
regardless of the
But
service.
mate, I come from Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Mexico is a service country. Like service is usually, because not always, but usually very good, right? Because people are trying hard to get your money. I don't know how it's in the US, because I think in the US people expect it.
Yeah, they do.
Like it's kind of like expected of you, this like regardless of the service. In Mexico, a lot of people still tip depending on the service. So the service in Mexico is usually exceptional.
Really good, yeah.
Like I went there with Petra like last summer, and she was like, "Oh man, like people are always on top, right? And do you want this? Do you want this?" Your drink gets empty, and they'll be like, "Oh, should I bring me the other one?" Like this kind of like really nice service, right?
Yeah, same as when I go to like Spain and places like that. Yeah, I've always noticed like the server when you're in a restaurant, it's like they'll bring you another drink because instantly.
Even a bit too much sometimes.
Yeah, over the top, exactly.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, would you like more bread? Would you like more all this sort of stuff? And very much like,
Yes.
let me get you another beer, sir. And you're like, oh, I wasn't going to, but yeah, it's kind of
And here, I've been in restaurants. I went to one the other day that the food was excellent. I've never been to, and this everything was excellent. And Petra was saying like, "Oh, what a nice place! Like I haven't been to this place. It's been here for ages, kind of thing." I was like, "Yeah, it's so good. Like we should go there more often." I was like, "Yeah." You know, everything is good. I was like, "Meh." Food was really good. Like, what do you mean? Service was trash. I felt like the woman there, like the server, had the attitude kind of like, "I'm doing you a favor,"
yeah,
kind of thing.
that's the worst. Like,
But it's like this culture difference where for her the service was excellent.
Yep.
For me the service was like because the woman was like rolling her eyes kind of thing and these kind of things and like talking to you. You know when I'm like, "Oh, what would you like to drink?" I was like, "Oh, what do you have?" And she's like, "We have these kind of like Coke and for me that's like, mate, I'm getting pissed just by your attitude kind of thing. But for her the service was excellent.
Right. Yeah.
And the food was excellent because that's like a norm. Kind of here.
I've noticed that Finns are willing to put up with a lot more than other cultures for sure. Like
I have a lot of patience and I deal with like things, but there's certain things that trigger me, and then I turn to Petra. Petra is my compass.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, "What do you think about this?" I was like, "Bro, is it me?"
Me. I don't think it's you necessarily because I feel the same. Like I was saying yesterday, I landed at Tampere Airport, and our flight lands at 10:30, like on the dot. And Tampere Airport is tiny. There's like this Ryanair flight that landed there is probably the only plane that has landed there in the last 2-3 hours. You can just tell by that, you know. And we all get off and we stand by the entrance to the terminal, and they just leave us standing queued up outside because they're opening the doors to the terminal for all the people that are catching the flight, the same aircraft taking the flight back to London, right?
Yeah, the terminal is not big enough.
Yeah, exactly. So rather than crazy decision, you could have an entrance and an you could have departures and arrivals. They just have one, and you just have to wait. So we stand out there while they wait for all these like people to just get onto the airplane, and I wait for like 30 minutes, and then they're roping off this area, and I get to the front of the ropes. I'm just about to go into the door to then queue again more to go through passport control, and then the aircraft's about to turn around and take off. So they ask us to go into this little side door where we're going to wait. So we go through this glass door, and I'm obviously first into this glass door. So I'm now, when we come back out, I'm now dead last of the whole group. So I've just been queuing for like 35, 40 minutes, and now I'm queuing for another 25 minutes at the back. And I'm pissed. Like, I'm not like, going to cause trouble, but I'm like, this is a fucking joke. Like, this is just such a suboptimal way to like run an airport. And
it's just they have so good weather all year long that it's easy to just leave you
exactly,
there.
Right? Exactly. I was like minus 25. You just stood out and the thing was, is like, and then after all that, I get to the front of the queue, and there's this nice American couple standing in front of me. There's two like passport desks. And there's an American couple, and they're like, middle-aged American couple. They go straight up, they hand their passports straight over. The reason I know they're American is I could just see as they've got their passport page open, the American flag at the back of the thing.
You hear the accent.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They talk there a bit loud. You can hear the accent. It takes you 2 seconds, right?
But even before I even heard anything from them, I could see as they opened their passports, I saw these two American flags, and I almost thought, for fuck's sake, if this is going to be annoying, if the guy's going to give them trouble. And he gets there, and the guy's asking him questions like, "How long are you here for?" and all these kind of things. Where I'm already agitated. I've been queuing for like an hour. And I'm just like thinking, dude, it's 10:30 on a fucking Thursday in Tampere. These guys have come from America. They're not here to steal your jobs. They're not here to cause trouble. They're not here to they're not going to illegally immigrate, right? It's like they've just come for the fucking ice hockey World Cup that is on, right? So it's like And he was so then the other two Finnish people that were in the queue in front of me, they go through on the left side, so I go following through there. And it was like the guy was just again, I hand over my Finnish resident card, I hand over my passport, and he starts asking me, what do you do for a profession? What do you do for just all sorts of nonsense questions and stuff. And it's just like, mate, I've lived in Finland for 6 years. I've gone back and forth, God knows how many times. And and more importantly, above all that, I have a Finnish resident card. I have a Finnish identity number. Like, it's like, why are you being a dick? Just let me through. And
Brexit.
Yeah, exactly. and it was, and on top of that, I don't understand. It's like, it's just like, yeah, that kind of. But I think the thing is like, when you land in the UK, people just if you ever get like, we have these electric machines that you don't even deal with a person. You put your passport into a machine. And it reads your face and lets you through. It's very seamless. But if ever that machine doesn't work, people just kick off. They're just like, "What is this? What is this?" And they go and complain. And but the Finns love to queue.
In Finland's defense,
yeah,
they do love it.
They love to queue,
but wrongly. But let's not go into that. In Finland's defense, I've only been once to the UK, and I was just passing by, and there was some kind of. When there was it was a series of these like bombings and shit on Europe.
Yeah.
And that had just happened.
July 7th.
Yeah, so they had this like double. I went through security 2 times just to go through the UK.
Right.
And that's one of the roughest security checks I've been through.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, just in Finland's defense. I mean, the UK. In my experience, hasn't been any better. But
yeah, fair. But I would argue again, though, right? It's like if you land in London, right, where it's like proper busy, and like I say, it's easy for me to say when you land in Heathrow and I've got a British passport, you go straight. So I imagine if you're from outside of the UK, maybe it's a bit more of a ball ache. Yeah. But it's just like, I don't think it is that. My girlfriend's got EU passport still, so and it's still like, it's something like we've got like a really weird collection where it's like if you're from the UK, the EU. And then it's like Japan, Australia, America. It's like you're fine, but everyone else.
I have Mexican passport.
Yeah, you were fucked. Yeah.
I can tell you that's a problem.
I'm surprised you're not still there waiting. Honestly, yeah.
Mate, we were talking about it. Now I have a Finnish passport, and with the Mexican passport, every single time I've traveled, international travel, of course, every single time I get randomly checked where they open your bags. Like you press the button, right? Like bam, random. I was like, sure, mate. I've gotten that. I've gotten bomb swabbed. I've gotten drug swabbed.
I got bomb swabbed at Tampere.
Bro, I've gotten checked everywhere. Every single time I travel. Like you go through, bam, random check. I was like, sure, mate, it's random. It has been random the last 10 times I've traveled. Yeah, I'm just very unlucky, I guess. The first time I traveled with the Finnish passport, nothing.
Yeah.
So it's not the looks; it's just a fucking passport.
The passport, yeah. I didn't tell you. Yeah, I didn't tell you. When I flew back to the UK from this trip, I flew. There's the one Ryanair flight that flies from Tampere to Stansted, so I always take that because it's usually like €40 a ticket, and it's just really convenient, right? So I get to the airport, and I tried to check in on my phone in the morning, but the check-in closes online 2 hours before you fly.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd do it at the airport. Got there, empty airport. Walk up, and the lady behind the check-in thing was like, "Oh, hand me your passport," and it says, "Oh, you haven't checked in yet." I said, "No, I haven't." She goes, "Okay," like taps away. Says, "I'm gonna need your credit card." I was like, "Okay," handed the credit card over. Charged me €55 just to check in. Check in €55. The worst thing is she didn't say.
Ryanair doesn't lose money.
Didn't even say a word about it. Just, "I need your credit card," and then hands me the ticket back with the credit card, and I flip over it, and I just scroll through it, and I just see price, €55. And I was a bit confused because I wasn't 100% sure. I was like, maybe I hadn't paid the flight already, and it was like, whatever. Yeah. I said to her, I was like, "Have I just paid €55 to check in?" And she says, "Yes." And that was it. And I was like, okay. So, won't be making that mistake again.
They're not even like apologetic about it.
I was like, okay, fine. So I walked.
Your fault.
I walked through the security, still a bit in shock. Like, €55. I'm thinking the flight was €40. You've charged me $55 to check in, and I went through, and then went through the detector, and it's like, "Oh, random check. We need to do a bomb swab," and I was like, "A bomb swab?" It's like, but yeah. So
you just like, who checks in on the counter?
Yeah, he must be. Yeah, €55 to check in. Madness, unbelievable. Oh. But yeah, this is. I saw this. I got this on the price of overpriced stuff. I got this Mirage Las Vegas cup. So they were selling like margaritas and stuff at the pool.
Nice.
and all that kind of stuff. And basically, you wanna hazard a guess at one of those. So I'm gonna give you two different places. So this will be, just to show the camera again, a cup like this with I don't know, you can have pina colada or any kind of frosted or non-frosted sort of cocktail. But we had one at Mirage, which is where we stayed, and then we went to a Steve Aoki pool party at Wet.
Oh, cool.
It was really good. Wet Republic, and they had them there. Do you want to have a guess at what they cost?
With the drink.
Yeah.
I've had something similar, but it was like a jar in
Yeah.
Cancun. For I think it was $20 at the time, 10 years ago. I would say 30.
Yeah, so at our hotel, these were $32 for that, with their benefit saying, well, if you get a free if you want a refill, they're like $28 for a refill, which is like, well, that's not really much of a saving, but fine. But at the pool party, you will never guess.
Oh, it was like pricier. Then I would say 50.
$72.
$72.
I'll tell you.
What's that? Like half a liter? A liter?
I don't know.
I think it's short of a liter, isn't it? Doesn't seem.
Yeah, maybe a liter, but it's not a liter without. They only put like a couple of shots in. Then so that was the thing.
On the ice.
Yeah, exactly. So it was but they were good fun. I was
70, bro.
$72, and
they never lose in that city, innit?
Man, I tell you,
You're the only one who's losing money.
I'll tell you one story, one relatively amusing story from that pool party. So we were buying these. They sell these buckets of Corona, but they're like in the big cans, right? So you get 6 Coronas in a bucket. For I think it was either $91 or $96. I can't remember exactly, but you get 6 cans. And
funny thing, I've never seen a bucket of Coronas in Finland.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it's a thing here. Because ice is not really a thing that people do.
No,
waste,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like in other places.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's a fair point. They were.
But Corona is very popular.
Yeah.
It's weird that they don't have the buckets.
Yeah, it is weird. They got the so nine Coronas in a can. 6 Coronas in a can at like $91 or $96. I can't remember. And we buy a few of these buckets between. There was maybe 10 or 11 of us at the pool party. So I think like 2 buckets got each of us 2 plus an extra one or something like that. Maybe I think it was about 11. So anyway, we get into this pool party, and we've been drinking before we went in because everyone says about how expensive it is. My cousin who went on the trip with us, he's got in a Fiji water bottle. He just does half of vodka, half of lemonade, and me and him were just drinking that before, and we were getting relatively smashed before. The night didn't end well, let me put it that way. So, but
I believe
yeah, so but we go in there and we get these buckets. So we've got 2 each or something, as I said. So I've drunk one, and we're just swimming in the pool and dancing about and wearing stuff. And I decided I need to go take a pee. I'll come back. So we've got this bucket with our flip flops and a orange can of like mist spray sunscreen, which I cannot praise enough. This mist. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like an aerosol, and it's,
that you don't have to do anything.
no, you just spray it on you, and it's And I was skeptical, but yeah, it kept. I burn pretty easily, and it saved my ass. So big fan of that. So I go to pee, right?
I have a story about that, but I'll wait.
Yeah, and I come back, right, and the boys have all just already gone back in the pool, but our bucket's still there with flip flops and all that sort of stuff. So I just think, right, I'll just grab the can out, crack it open, try and stuff this piece of lime wedge in the can, which is because they give it. But I stuff it in and I sip it, and I think better put a bit more cream on. So I spray myself, and as I'm spraying myself, there's just these 2 dudes just like staring at me, and I'm just sort of like, what the fuck are they staring at, right? And like I say, I've had quite a bit to drink. I'm just sort of like, they just don't look away, and I'm like, whatever. And then they continue to stare, put the sunscreen down. I just look at them, I go, boys, are we good? Like, is it? Yeah. And they're Americans, like, yeah, we're good, bro, we're good. And I was like, well, I'm just curious, like, as to why you're staring at me. And they're like, no, we're good, bro, we're good. We just wondered why you were drinking our beer and stealing our sunscreen. And basically, our team have moved our buckets away as I peed. These dudes had sat down in the same spot and taken it. And I just walked over and just stolen a can. And I was like, oh shit. And like, these are like €90 a bucket, right? I was like, oh boys, I'm really sorry. I'll go and replace it. I'll go get you a new one. And they were just like, no, it's cool. Don't worry. It's all good. Mistakes happen. And I just felt awful. It's just like, why are these guys about? I was about to, and you're like, I'm about to get in some trouble here. What are they staring at? I'm just stealing their beer.
You start throwing hands. Like, what happened? Oh, he stole my beer.
Yeah, it was like, it was really bad.
I remember it reminded me of this kind of like, we had just started, I think, hanging out. It was like a bit during Corona. I think Corona had just like started that you could still go out and these kind of things.
Right.
And we have been at home maybe for a few months. Then they're starting to open things up, and people are trying to do things outside. That's like a bit more social distancing kind of thing. And I remember we used to live at like 1 block away.
Yeah, really close.
And I went to the store in the corner, and I remember I was gonna cook with a friend of mine. So I went, I bought a lot of groceries, had my huge backpack, and then I saw you with Milia and with like another couple of friends. And you were all burned up, man. Completely
Right.
red,
I wondered where
red.
this story's going. I know now,
And
yeah.
you were like, I was like, what the hell, mate? What are you up to? And you were like, oh, playing.
We're about to go Ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah, but you were like, playing frisbee golf. I was like, dude, how long were you playing? Like, I just walked here. It was a street. You walked the block.
I hadn't
you were
been.
burned already. I was like, dude, you should definitely use some sunblock.
Yeah, I hadn't been.
Walked a fucking block.
You thought I'd play like 2 rounds of Frisbee golf and burnt the shit out of myself.
You were burned already.
Yeah, I remember that. I told you I'd burn easily. Like, I do remember that. Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, that was
Kill me, bro.
because the thing was is like, and that's what people said to me. People were like, "Oh, oh my god, you should use sun." The day before I'd been with Tam, we'd gone down to like the lake, down to Etelap Oyster, and just me and him, and we went down at like 11 a.m. We were just chilling or whatever, and
that's the one you spend the whole day, right?
That's it. I had my shirt on for most of it, right? And then took my shirt off for maybe. I only took my shirt off to go and have a little swim in the lake, swim a little bit, come back, and then we went to Aussie Bar in that evening, and like I went home, showered, and it's just, you see it when I get out of the shower, I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm a little bit red, and I was getting made fun of that night. Like everyone was like, oh, you burnt yourself a bit, and then we were able to play it. But you should put sun cream on, and it's like I did. It just doesn't. And that's why these spray cans. They were like, I was very skeptical because you just sort of, you don't rub it in. You just spray it. It's see through.
Very convenient, right? Like
really good. And I was just like, this isn't gonna work. But yeah,
I remember I've been once to Etelap as well. I was there with Carl.
Yeah.
And we just had like a 6-pack or 12-pack. I don't know. Like his backpack was packed with like cans, and I don't know what we did, but we spent there quite a long time. And I don't know if I had like the can here on the chest.
No.
That the sun comes from up, or because I don't remember doing anything special. I was just like sitting there like drinking. We got there maybe at 2 until like 6, let's say, and then we went to a bar or whatever. And for like half a year, I had like this weird half a circle on the stomach, like marked, like of burn. I don't even know where that came from. I was like shirtless. I was like, where did this like half a circle came from? Like, but it lasted for like half a year. I don't know.
I get it as well. Like I had, you could tell where the sunscreen was so good. Where like I just have like a patch on like my hip where I obviously didn't reach it, and it was just pink. But yeah, for sure it's good. I think as a first episode back from Vegas where I've been jet lagged, I think this is a good sort of ending point we've discussed on. And
we wanted to talk about the culture shocks, Finland and other places, but I don't think we did that.
Now maybe
like tipping.
We'll save them for the next week. So we'll. This was just probably a really last minute one. I'm still pretty jet lagged. We, like I say, got back yesterday and thought we'd just jump on as tradition with Rene on the Friday, do a quick one, talk a bit of a post Vegas catch up, and the proper episodes will resume next week, I think.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, because usually we have this kind of like a tradition nowadays, I would say, that on Friday we come record here, and then we jump in to play something with the guys.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday I usually see Petra.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday kind of thing. So my weekends are like that.
Yeah.
And you were not here last week.
Yeah. So
my Friday was off.
What did you do last Friday?
I went with Petra, like because she was not working.
Oh, that worked out.
So I was like, I don't remember what we did. We went to eat somewhere. I don't remember what we did, but we went out to eat somewhere and had a drink. And then on Saturday, I was like, oh well, Petra's working because she had some party, so she was busy. I was like, I won't do anything, man. Like I was like, buy some chips, some soda, and I was just like playing. I bought the Deep Stranded.
Okay.
I was just playing, man. I was like on my couch, on my computer screen, I was playing. And on my TV screen, I had this like Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, mate, I'm set. I was just like sitting there playing, and I got a call from one of the Mexican dudes like, oh, let's go play. Let's go watch the game. I'm like, You know, when you are like, I always say no on the weekends because I'm busy.
Now is the perfect opportunity.
I should say, because I feel bad for saying no when someone has invited me a couple times. Like, yeah, fuck it, man. I'll jump in the shower and go with you. And I thought they had a place, but they didn't. And they're like 8 p.m. The game starts. Should we go somewhere? I was like, you're trolling me. You're trolling because like everything's gonna be packed, right?
Yeah,
like there's
the ice hockey on,
ice
right?
hockey like World Cup here in Tampere. I was like, oh mate. Ended up in Old Irish. I'm just gonna leave it there. If you live in Tampere, you know what Old Irish is. You don't want to be there.
Yes.
But it was an interesting change for the weekend routine, I can tell you. I'd rather jump in with the guys than going to Old Irish. I mean, I like these guys, but like the Old Irish is something.
Yeah, it's some of the people that work there are lovely, but the people that some of the people that go there,
a handful, man, out of everyone else. Like you get the old grandpa that's wanting to fight someone.
Oh no, not that go there, but the people that work there are quite. Some of I've got a few friends that work there.
The people who work there are fine.
But the people who go there,
all the old junkies are the problem, mate.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we're jumping tonight, and thank you for everyone. We didn't upload one week; it was a few weeks back, and the last one I uploaded was already pre-uploaded from Vegas, so we didn't really share it or anything like that. So we're back to sharing this one, and thank you for those that watched us. And yeah, like I say, not a particularly entertaining one this week, but give us a like and subscribe, and we'll be back to the regular schedule, if you will, next week. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Rene, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. See you.
Yeah.